What's going on there, guys? Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this beautiful Thursday, July 7th, 2022 date. It's about 6:56 p.m. California time here along the West Coast. And man, it seems like we always have like a one-pointer coming in as soon as we do the updates. 1.1, the latest quake here in the Southern California region. Also some activity up into the Pacific Northwest. And that's kind of where we're going to start off tonight with a little article that's a little on the scary side here. Now, this is not to scare anyone, but it is facts, and it is a legit article put out here by the folks by the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, PNSN. You might know those guys as, well, if you watch my videos, you know we'll cover the tremor activity a lot. These are the folks that cover the tremor counts up there along the Cascadia subduction zone. Also monitor earthquake and volcano activity throughout the Cascades and into the Pacific Northwest. They put out a little article here. It's actually a little scary article in regards to the Seattle fault. Okay, now a lot of you folks know I've talked about the Seattle fault quite a bit, and we have seen some swarms on it in the past. Last earthquake, large-scale earthquake activity was about, let's check here, 11,000 years ago. No, 1100, excuse me, when it was about the scene of a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. So this Seattle fault system runs directly through Seattle. This is a scary thing because this fault system here can do a little bit more damage in terms of a tsunami and extensive shaking damage compared to a 9.0 on the Cascadia subduction zone, which is much further west and offshore of the state of Washington. So there's it's a blind thrust fault. Now the thrust fault, we get it. It's kind of an uplift type of deal. The blind means that it's not visible from the surface. Again, the Seattle fault looks like it's about 43 miles long. That's 70 kilometers. Runs through Seattle. We can see it pretty clearly here on the USGS map. I'll show you guys right here. Let's bring up the all magnitudes here over the last 7 days. And there hasn't been a whole lot on here, but sometimes we get these swarms coming through here. This is the fault system that is painting a grim picture for the Seattle area. Let's go ahead and jump into it here. This is the inundation map of a tsunami. Okay, say that there was a 7.5 magnitude earthquake. There wasn't one, but say if there is, they're going to go with the worst case scenario where it paints a destructive picture for the Seattle area. These guys post here, but it is important to keep in mind that these are for a worst case scenario earthquake, and there's plenty you can do now to get prepared. 1100 years ago, folks, that's a long time. The reoccurrence interval is unknown, but you got to think that 1100 years ago, that's quite a bit of time that it's had to build up. The stress is needed to release a 7.5 earthquake. Here is the Seattle Center. Okay, now these are some scary tsunami potentials here, okay? Seattle Armory up here, we got 6 feet tsunami wave height. Pier 90, 26-foot high wave. Okay, these are all the wave peaks here. The highest one here, well, the Seattle Great Wheel, 42 feet. A 42-foot high tsunami coming in here into the Seattle area. 44 feet here. Looks like the container terminal 18. And of course, you guys can look around here and see all of this. This is just one area that kind of covered. Looks like Lake Union was not included in the tsunami study. But this general area of Seattle, I've only been up here one time, and that was at the airport when I was flying up to Anchorage, Alaska. I don't know, I've kind of wanted to go up there and check out the space tower, Space Needle. Can't remember what it's called. I've always wanted to do it since I was a kid, but I don't think I want to. Not anymore. I'll look at it through pictures. But this is a little scary. Wave arrival, less than 3 minutes. First wave crest is about 5 minutes or so. So yeah, these are kind of some scary stuff. T-Mobile Park, 5-foot tsunami. This is once again the inundation map of a potential 7.5 earthquake and subsequent tsunami that will strike, no doubt, on the Seattle fault. Let's go ahead and read up a little bit here what they're stating. This was from the PNSN network, originally from a site called Washington State Department of Natural Resources. A new study has modeled the impact of a magnitude 7.5 earthquake on the Seattle Fault, with tsunami waves reaching the greater Seattle area within 3 minutes. Not a lot of time to get out of there. According to our geologist findings, tsunami waves could be as high as 42 feet at the Seattle Great Wheel and will reach inland as far as the, Lumenfield and T-Mobile Park. Although the last earthquake on the Seattle Fault occurred 1,100 years ago, the geologic record indicates a history of smaller, more frequent earthquakes every 700 years or so, placing us well within the window for a seismic event. Not good news for these folks in Seattle. Definitely not a laughing matter whatsoever. I did share this on my Facebook page earlier, and there is a whole lot of information in regards to this far as other areas. I know we've covered Oregon before as far as the Cascadia goes, but this is specifically in regards to the Seattle Fault. It's a pretty scary deal. A lot of people don't know about it. You know, they think, well, the Cascadia, yeah, I'm a ways away from the Cascadia. But man, let me tell you, it's a real threat up there. So I figured I would share that with you guys here. There's a bunch of info on it in regards to the liquefaction potential throughout Seattle. That would not be good. Kind of the sinking of the land. So not only would you have shaking, but you would also have the sinking of the land, and then a subsequent tsunami to come in and finish it off. Would not be good. So I will include a couple of these links here in the update video below, and let you guys read for yourself. I just wanted to cover that real quick. Little scary article here. I know the Seattle Fault is a lot more dangerous here, and I've said it time and time again, even before this article got put out, that this area is under more potential for damage in a tsunami than the Cascadia, which sits well offshore here. Of course, 9.0 out here, yeah, we're going to see coastal inundation and whatnot from the tsunamis and damage, but the Seattle area itself, this is the fault system that we have to worry about here, the Seattle Fault. Not fear-mongering. These are 100% facts. And I think folks definitely need to be prepared. It's kind of like the LA, right? The LA, how Los Angeles is always worried about the big one. Well, this is Seattle's, kind of scary feature up here. There's a lot to worry about. You got tornadoes all over the place. You got hurricanes in the south. We got earthquakes over here and volcanoes. Every area's got their own little danger zone, and Seattle sits right on top of one. The population density is unreal out here. I would not want to be up there at all. I don't want to be up there, period, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of that area. Okay, so let's look at the 30 days all magnitudes here. And this is that little swarm activity I was kind of chatting about here a couple weeks ago now. We've seen some swarming on the western section of that Seattle Fault system. Nothing big, just a bunch of microquakes, and these were pretty deep. You got to remember, this is a thrust fault below the surface, and there's some pretty deep earthquake activity kicking up on the Seattle Fault system. I think the biggest one so far was a 2.4. 7.5 magnitude earthquake is the largest potential, supposedly. Who knows? It might be larger on these thrust faults. They do get pretty big. But it's been 1,100 years since that baby's shown any significant rupture. So heads up, Seattle. This whole area is a danger zone if you really think about it. I'm not even joking. Far as seismic activity today goes, this is the all magnitudes one map, or all magnitudes one day. One map? Yeah, we get it. There's one map here. A little bit of activity around the Mount Rainier volcano today. A couple small microquakes. Far as today's activity, just off this Seattle Fault here to the south, got a 0.7. Again, this is some deeper movement down there into the thrust areas, 22 kilometers for that earthquake. Outside of Portland, this area did see some movement here. Has it been over 30 days? Let me see here. It has. This area did see a little bit larger earthquake activity here outside the Portland and the Vancouver area over a month ago. And it looks like a little aftershock sequence occurring today with a 2.0 in that area. One earthquake outside of Eugene. That's kind of odd. Unity, Oregon, a very shallow earthquake here. It looks like in the canyon regions of 1.5. Haven't seen too much activity, but overall I think that's a kind of a sign of some increasing pressure here regionally as a whole along the North American plate. Northern California kind of tapering off a little bit, not a whole lot of movement. Seems like about the Bay Area to Reno southward into portions of western Nevada as well. Seeing some microquake activity today. No major large-scale movement. In fact, the 2.5 and above shows the majority of activity up here in the Sierra Nevada mountains with a couple twos in that area. All the other earthquake activity you see here on the globe or on the map is all microquakes, and there's not a lot of it. Definitely kind of tapering off a little bit, doesn't it look like it? I'd say so. Some earthquake activity here west. Looks like southeast of the Banning area, 1.2, and some smaller quakes. Aside from the rest of the country, look at that. Things kind of tapering off a little bit. And I think that's why we're seeing a little, remember, we've seen a little bit of deep earthquake activity out here in the Fiji Islands region, Tonga Trench. Seen a pretty good amount of deep earthquake activity, including one overnight at 600 kilometers deep for that 4.2. So that ultimately, I think, does, considering the pressure, comes from the west in this fashion, kind of west-northwest, moves off to the west-northwest, excuse me. On any GPS map, you'll be able to see that, generally speaking, for this region, for the Pacific Plate. So I think these deeper earthquakes have relieved a little bit of pressure out here along the western states and also down in South America. We're not seeing a whole lot of movement today. Yes, there is some small microquakes, but nothing going on above the 4.0 level except for that one 4.3. That one occurring earlier this afternoon time frame. Here in the Big Island, let's see, things kind of getting a little active, I would say. Mauna Loa showing quite a bit of seismic activity over the last couple days here, all around the top of the volcano, and the majority of this earthquake activity shallow, although there was a, this is 2.4 way down there in the Pahala area. Let's get rid of that. Majority of this earthquake activity fairly shallow and at the surface, so got to watch that. That's definitely overdue for some activity. Let's go ahead and check out the hazard notification system here real quick from the USGS. Kind of monitors the activity and gives out reports. HVO. Here's a monthly update. Mauna Loa weekly update. We'll check that out here real quick. Still remains at advisory in yellow for the aviation code and the alert level. Mauna Loa volcano is not erupting. Rates of seismicity remain slightly elevated above long-term background levels, but have not changed significantly over the past week. Other Mauna Loa monitoring data streams, ground deformation and such, show no significant changes of late. So this was put out this morning. Global positioning systems, GPS measurements, show steady rates of deformation in the volcano summit region continuing through the week. That can't be good. Concentrations of SO2 and H2S and CO2 remain stable. But we do got to watch that GPS. We start seeing a little inflation. That could be a sign of some movement underneath the ground. Of course, you get these earthquakes as well. So we will keep an eye on that. The Mauna Loa volcano on the Big Island. Let me bring up the GPS measurements here. There's a lot of them. Yes, there's a lot. This is a really cool site to check out GPS areas. We'll go ahead and check out. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Every one of these blue squares. Definitely a lot. This has been an ongoing trend here for Mauna Loa for quite a while. This is a vertical displacement, and that's a lot. These are in MMs up to about 300 mm or so since about 2012. So there's definitely a steady uplift of the volcano. And as noted, that these guys are kind of indicating the steady rates of deformation in the volcano summit region continuing through the past week. So got to watch that pretty closely, folks. Of course, Kilauea volcano still continuing its activity, but most of the magma and lava have been confined to the crater there. But watch this area pretty closely. Southeastern portion of Hawaii still active. Of course, that's very typical of the swarming there. Loihi Seamount, not a whole lot of movement out there offshore today. Got one earthquake out here along the Aleutian Trench. It looks like a, what is that, 3.5 in the Rat Islands area, 76 kilometers into the subduction zone here of the Pacific and the North American plate. Japan has remained quiet, at least for the Japan Trench and the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. It sits north. One earthquake, 4.5, that one occurring earlier this morning. And we got the most recent quake here, looks like to be a 5.0 just south along in the Japan area, but kind of just to the west of the Philippine plate. There's a couple trenches that sit in here, but this 5.0 occurring pretty shallow at the southeastern edge of the East China Sea. Remember I told you guys to watch for this area. If we see deeper movement, we get deeper earthquake activity, and of course we get adjustments here further to the west and further up to the north, as noted and right on cue. But I'm still watching this area pretty closely here for some deeper, large-scale movement, more than the 4-pointers that we're seeing in that area. Not a whole lot of subsequent movement over here yet, but that could happen here pretty soon once we see the deeper activity in Fiji. Afghanistan seeing a couple earthquakes, eastern side, with a couple 4s. Up here in the Janmayan area, way north into the Arctic Circle we go. 4.5, kicking in within the last hour. Haven't seen too much activity up there recently, but we could start seeing a little unzipping here of the Atlantic area, the rift zones. That seems to be the fashion. Tends to start up here in the north and then just kind of works its way through the mid-Atlantic and then down south through the South Sandwich Islands area. So we'll see if that comes true or not. Definitely got to watch it. Let's see. What else do we have, guys? Space weather. Well, actually, let's go ahead and check out tremor tonight. See what we got for tremor. Nothing showing up. Wow. Okay. Completely zero. No tremors along the Cascadia subduction zone at all. Volcanic seismicity. We'll pick one tonight. We'll check out Mount Jefferson. And here there's only one seismograph here. Very similar to the glacier region. And of course, it's not even going to let us see it. So let's pick a different one, see what we got here. Crater Lake into the Oregon area. Yes, that is a volcano. Still being monitored. Crater Lake, Wizard Island. Beautiful area up there. Nice and cool. Beautiful scenery. Let's see. Any seismic activity to note? Take a look here real quick and see. Looks pretty calm. Not for sure what this activity is. Some of it looks like maybe some small microquakes, but also looks like maybe interference here in a small little fashion. But the rest of seismograph stations there looks pretty calm, pretty steady as she goes there. All right, space weather. Let's go ahead and check this out here. I know we did have a G1 class storm kick up there, surprisingly. Well, it came in kind of late. In fact, these guys, wow, look at that. That's kind of continuing right now. We originally had a G1 class storm forecasted on the 6th. That did not show up. Looks like it was pretty late. So as you've seen earlier this morning time frame, we've seen a really just a big slap in the face here from some solar wind from the coronal hole that had been facing us over the past few days there, named 97. It's now kind of scooting along, but it was pretty lengthy. We got another one, 99, that's going to be facing us here really soon, which could provide us with some further amplification of the space weather activity. But wow, yeah, things kicking up here. Looks like a G1 class storm is forecasted here for the next couple nights, as we're seeing that activity currently into the KP index of 5. There is the aurora forecast for the northern hemisphere. Looks pretty awesome there, pending you got some darker skies. See what we got for the southern South Pole area. Anyone down there watching this show? Probably not, but they're getting in on the action as well. The southward tilt is probably, kind of looping back up here a little bit. We did have a pretty good southward tilt of the BZ component, indicating that basically allowing the solar wind stream to flow in and ramp up the solar radiation way up there and producing this activity, such as the auroras. The speed here earlier this morning when it really ramped up, that's it right there. Although it only jumped up to about 400 or so km per second there, not a big thing, not a big event whatsoever. But when you allow when this tilting here occurs, it allows the solar particles to flow right in. It's like an open door. Density kicked up here a little bit about that time. So things are looking awesome for those folks up north, down here in California and the rest of the states. I doubt it. Maybe potentially at the down to some of the mid-latitude states there. It looks like 15% chance for the mid-latitude. Let's see what these guys. High-speed wind stream finally reach Earth. BZ component of the interplanetary magnetic field is also pointing south, a condition that could elevate the storm. Watch for a moderate G2. I don't think we'll reach into G2, but you never know. G2, of course, is a little bit more intense on the auroras and potentially reaching down here into the northern tier states. Lucky them. All right, solar flare activity. Minimal right now. I say right now because we got some developing sunspots here and some growing ones. These guys are getting hungry, and they're looking pretty awesome for potential flaring in the coming days. Also, another sunspot down here trying to get its thing together. Solar flare threat looks like about 75% chance for a C flare, M flare at about 15, and X flare sits at 1. Of course, this is all subject to change. These things can rapidly, definitely develop. We'll see how it goes, though, in the coming days, folks. So, all right, again, if you guys get a chance, check out the article in regards to the Seattle fault. It's kind of a big deal, considering it is a major populated area. We're getting a little bit of movement here in the New Zealand area. Again, I said watch for this area. There's 3 areas to watch once we see deeper movement here. Just the way that the plates go, the way that the plates move, is the area up here around the Papua New Guinea area, the adjustment up here around Japan, and also the New Zealand area. You got to remember, we got some deeper movement here in this area with these Fiji quakes. It's got to be doing something up here towards the surface, right? Towards this area of the plate boundary. And kind of seeing that right now, 3.0 coming into the New Zealand area. So just be on guard. I still think we are looking at some possible larger scale movement in the deep department of Fiji. I'm talking down there 500, 600 kilometers. So, all right, guys, stay safe out there. Have a good night, and we will chat you guys pretty soon. Again, don't forget to enter the 75,000 subscriber giveaway if you haven't. Win some cool prizes. We got a couple hundred entries already, but I know there's more of you guys out there. Maybe if you guys don't want to win something, maybe your family might want to, or it might be something cool for your kid to pass along, something for them to maybe show off in class. So anyway, all right, guys, make sure you enter it. It's up on the channel. We'll chat you guys a little bit later. Stay safe out there, everyone. Have a good night.